There is no beginning that feels like yours. Not really. No moment where the universe paused, turned, and smiled at your arrival. You came quietly, like mist, forming on a mirror no one was watching. Space doesn't greet you. It does not lean. In it, stretches outward, away from itself, growing colder, darker, more silent with every breath you take. You are here, but nothing announces that fact but the sound of your own lungs, and even that fades in the vacuum. The cosmos is not empty, but it feels empty. It is filled with particles, radiation, and relics of ancient motion, but none of it turns toward you. No orbit curves to cradle you. No constellation rearranges itself to spell your name. You are not placed here with purpose. You are not awaited, and yet you are dot. You drift, not in a ship, not in a dream, but in thought. Across billions of years, your presence flickers for the briefest heartbeat. A spark, that's all you are. A spark in the void. But what is a spark if not a small defiance against darkness? The universe began without light, before the stars, before the atoms, before the forces that hold things together. There was only expansion, a spreading that made room for all things, without knowing it would one day make room for you. No edges, no walls, just raw becoming. A cosmos, unfolding itself like a quiet sigh that never stopped. And inside this endless hush, energy cooled, slowed, changed. Particles met, forces organized, patterns emerged. The universe did not know it was doing this. It simply followed laws that do not care who watches. And somewhere, buried in that blind unfolding, was the potential for you, a cluster of atoms that would one day ask why. You are not the goal of this vastness. You are not its meaning. But you were made of it. The carbon in your chest was fused in a dying star. The oxygen in your breath once circled inside a supernova's fire. You are built from broken pieces of ancient catastrophes. You are the ash of cosmic violence, gathered by gravity and softened by time, and still you feel, you wonder, you ache. For meaning, why does it feel so silent out here? Perhaps because silence is what the universe does best. It doesn't need to be explained. It simply is cold, expanding, indifferent. But inside you is something else. A tension, a hum. Not the silence of space, but the pressure of knowing you are temporary. The stars will outlast you. The galaxies will keep drifting long after your name is forgotten. And yet, in your chest, there is a pulse, a kind of refusal, a quiet fire that says, yes, I know, but I am here anyway. Is that what it means to be alive? To flicker, briefly, in a place that does not care, and to care anyway. You are not here because the universe needs you. You are here because, somewhere, probability smiled. A roll of the quantum dice formed a planet, and life, and thought, and now, you, small, breathing, wondering, sit in the middle of an explosion that never ends. Every second, the fabric of space stretches farther, pulling galaxies away from one another. Not because they are moving, but because the space between them grows. Even the light from distant stars will one day never reach you. The dark will win. Not with anger, just inevitability. But at this moment, you are still part of it, still aware, still asking, still shining in your own small way. And if nothing else, isn't that enough? A spark does not need to last forever. It only needs to glow once in the dark and know it happened. You do not belong here, and yet you are here. The void stretches outward, but something in you begins to lean forward, not to flee the silence, but to follow it. You feel the stretch before you understand it. A quiet loosening at the edges of everything you know, like fabric giving a little underbreath. Nothing bursts, nothing cracks. It only widens, softly, as though the distance between moments is learning to exhale. The galaxies are not racing away like frightened birds. They sit where gravity holds them, turning slowly, bound inside their own swirls of stars and dust. It is the space between them that lengthens, a calm tide rolling outward with no shore to stop it, carrying each island of light a little farther from the rest. You live on one of those islands. You name the stars, map their motions, stack numbers against the night to measure how fast the dark grows. The marks you make are small, but they reveal a pattern older than language. Every beam of ancient light arrives, stretched, reddened, thinned, by the journey through swelling space. You call it a shift, a gentle reddening, but what you are really seeing is distance being created beneath your feet. No sound announces this growth. Expansion has no hum, no tremor. It is a rule written into the way emptiness behaves. Like dough rising in an oven, points that were once near drift apart, not because they move, but because the dough itself swells. The raisins do not crawl, the loaf lifts them. So the galaxies rest, and the universe lifts them. You are small enough to think in terms of leaving and staying, of abandonment and return. When light slides from you, when a memory fades, you feel lost. But the stars are not choosing to depart. They simply find more room around them, and you do too, though you barely sense it. The chair beneath you, the air in your lungs, every atom in your hand participates in this expansion, yet local bonds hold them tight, like stitches resisting a larger stretch. There is a threshold where gravity yields and the widening wins. Beyond the grip of a galaxy, beyond the pull of a cluster, the fabric loosens freely. Regions once connected slip forever from each other's light. Past a certain distance, even a photon sprinting at the universal speed cannot close the growing gap. Messages become marooned, futures sealed off from ever knowing certain pasts. Think of the cosmic microwave background, that faint, cold glow embroidered across the sky. It is the whisper left from a time when everything was packed hot and close, when light and matter mingled without restraint. Now its wavelength is stretched almost 3,000 times longer than when it set off, cooled by expansion until it barely warms to the edge of zero. You rest beneath that glow every night, a relic blanket thinned by time and stretch. Dark energy, you hear the phrase and taste mystery, but feel its consequence more than its name. It is the gentle push written into empty space, the pressure that does not weaken as the universe grows. If anything, its influence increases as more space appears to carry it. You cannot hold it in a vial. You cannot bottle its quiet insistence. Yet you sense its patient nudge in every observation of receding light. Consider what this means for endings. Not flame, not collapse, but separation. A future where island universes drift out of sight, where night loses its distant lanterns, where only local stars remain until they, too, fade. Heat spreads thin, energy dilutes, motion slows. The expansion does not stop to ask if life still watches. It continues, a calm, unstoppable unraveling. And what is the meaning of such a stretch? You are a temporary knot in the fabric, a place where atoms linger together long enough to think about distance. Your thoughts are local, held by chemistry and temperature, by a narrow band of conditions. Yet those thoughts reach outward, measuring the very expansion that will one day hide all clues of its early fire. You record, you remember, you become a counterweight to forgetting, even if only briefly. A balloon is too simple, but hold it for a moment. Dots on its surface move away from one another as it inflates. No dot sits at the center. Every point feels like the middle, because every point experiences the same stretch. That is your position, not central, not marginal, but woven into a topology where centers have no meaning. The universe does not expand from a point in space. It expands space itself, everywhere, all at once. You ask, quietly, will it ever end? The answer is softer than certainty. Evidence says the push grows stronger relative to pull. That acceleration, once surprising, is now the rule. If so, the future is a long solitude. If not, some other fate awaits. But none of these paths bend themselves around your comfort. They are simply trajectories written by amounts of mass, energy, and curvature. Still, there is a tenderness in understanding. Knowledge does not change the tide, but it changes how you float. To know that the stars drift because the fabric swells is to loosen the story of abandonment. They are not leaving you behind. You and they are passengers on the same expanding raft, separated by water you cannot cross, but born of the same flood. In this widening, intimacy becomes precious. Local warmth matters more against a cooling void. Conversations, shared breaths. The fragile ecosystems of thought and love, these are gravitational wells in their own right. Small regions where expansion is held at bay by connection. The universe makes more room, and you answer by making meaning dense where you can. Even your body tells the tale. Photons leaving your skin stretch into longer waves as they travel, cooling as they go, becoming part of the background hum. You fade into microwaves and radio whispers, your warmth diluted into the great quiet. And yet, for now, you glow. For now, you gather heat, metabolize sunlight cushioned by atmosphere, and you think about the destiny of horizons. Horizon, another. Soft word for a hard boundary. There are regions of space you will never see, not because you are slow, but because causality itself cannot bridge the swelling gulf. The observable universe is a bubble defined not by what exists, but by what can reach you in time. Beyond it, more of the same, perhaps, or something different. You cannot know. The stretch makes ignorance a permanent feature. But you are here, now, aware not only of stars, but of the distances growing between them. You hold that awareness like a candle cupped in two hands. The wind still blows. The darkness still waits. Yet the flame is real, the warmth immediate. There is also the quiet arithmetic of it all, a rate. A constant with units of distance per time per distance. An odd fraction that says the farther away a galaxy is, the faster it recedes. You hear numbers like 70 kilometers per second per megaparsec and translate them into feeling. Remoteness amplifies departure. Doubling distance doubles the speed of vanishing, not by will, but by geometry. The math hums like a lullaby of inevitability. Astronomers build ladders to climb this expansion, step by careful step. Kiffied variables pulse like reliable heartbeats. Supernova flare and fade with clock-like grace. Redshifts mark how much the song of light has been slowed. Each rung is checked, recalibrated, argued over, because precision matters when you measure. A universe that refuses to stand still. You watch them argue gently with data, and you sense love in that persistence. Even emptiness is not empty. Virtual pairs flicker in and out, tiny loans of energy repaid almost instantly, yet contributing to the vacuum's strange pressure. You picture bubbles forming and popping on the surface of boiling water. Except the water is nothingness, and the bubbles are events. This restless nothing may be what urges space to grow, a background whisper saying more, 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 even when no one is listening. And when you speak of scale, you must speak of time. Early on, expansion was a fierce sprint, then gravity slowed. Then dark energy took the lead. The baton passes between forces you cannot touch, choreographing a race you only infer from fossils of light. The curve of the cosmos growth is a story written in temperature, density, and the delicate tug-of-war between cling and release. Through it all, you remain a witness, a breathing metric of wonder and loss, both. Maybe the question is not why. The universe expands without you, but how you expand within it. Your curiosity stretches, your compassion stretches, your ability to hold paradox stretches. You learn to accept indifference without surrendering tenderness. You learn to feel small without feeling erased. Space swells, time dilates, light thins. Still, you breathe, measure, murmur. Still, you wait for the next chapter of the night to unfold, knowing it will not slow for you, but hoping you can slow yourself enough to hear its faint, receding pulse. Something in you leans toward the pull that still gathers things together. A force without feeling, patient beneath the widening. You feel it waiting, the quiet hand that never lets go. You feel it the moment you open your eyes, a gentle tug at every atom in your body, an unspoken invitation to rest against something solid. It is neither kind nor cruel. It simply is. Every breath you take pushes against this invisible hand, and every heartbeat echoes its insistence that you remain here, held close. Gravity does not compose music for human ears, nor does it craft poetry for your heart. It arranges the cosmos with absolute indifference. It pulls molecules into raindrops and sculpts mountains from restless rock. It sends comets diving toward suns and holds each planet in a steady embrace. Unhurried and unchanging, you carry gravity with you. In every step, you press footprints into soft earth. When you leap, you feel its tug drawing you back, like a lover's gentle plea. You think of it as a friend on windy days, when you lean into the gusts and find the world steady beneath your feet. But it is not personal. It does not pause for you. In space, gravity is a silent architect. It weaves filaments of dark matter into vast webs that guide galaxies to their places. It gathers stars into clusters, binds black holes with unbreakable chains, and whispers to light itself, bending its path as a glass lens bends a beam. Here too, there is no intention, only the geometry of attraction. Inside your body, gravity is the quiet choreographer of life. It shapes the flow of blood, guides the growth of trees toward the sun, and tethers oceans in rhythmic tides. The cells in your muscles know its pull, strengthening your bones to resist collapse. You are formed by this force, molded into a shape that can stand, walk, and wonder at its own reflection. On Earth, gravity gives you a home. It blankets the atmosphere, keeping the air you breathe from drifting into the void. It gathers water into lakes and rivers, carving valleys over eons with unspoken patience. When you close your eyes and feel the ground beneath you, you rest in its arms even if you never notice its constant vigil. Yet gravity makes no distinctions. It will pull the feather and the stone with the same tenacity, slowed only by the cloak of resisting air. Drop a leaf and a pebble from the same height, and in a vacuum they fall together. The cosmos does not esteem one more than the other. Your weight is no more significant than the weight of a star that lives and dies without ever knowing its own mass. Think of an astronaut in orbit, perpetually falling around Earth, never landing. They float because they are drawn toward Earth, at the same rate that the curve of Earth falls away beneath them. There is no magic here, just an interplay of inertia and attraction, of motion and pull, balanced with quiet precision. The orbit is not grace. It is a dialogue between speed and longing. And when you look up at the night sky, you see points of light bound in silent dances. Some waltz in pairs, spiraling toward each other until they merge in brilliant flashes. Some stand alone, ancient and fading, pulled only by the gravity of distant companions. You trace constellations whose shapes belong more to human myth than cosmic reality, yet the gravity that holds those stars in place has no concept of myth. Gravity shapes time as well. Near a massive body, time itself slows, a soft stretching of moments that makes every second linger. You do not perceive it in your daily life, but clocks on mountains tick faster than those at sea level. Your awareness stretches with each heartbeat, unaware of the subtle lullaby that bends time around you. At the center of a black hole, gravity becomes infinitive. You believe equations that predict a point of endless pull. Here is a place where space folds back on itself and time tips into confusion. Yet even this abyss is subject to the same rule that governs your gentle morning stretch. Mass attracts mass. No subtlety, no preference, only the relentless law that gravity obeys. You, too, are pulled toward greater things. You are drawn to ideas that reshape your world, attracted to people whose presence bends your life's trajectory. Yet gravity itself remains unmoved by your thoughts or hopes. It demands nothing, rewards nothing, and never looks back on what it has pulled into. Being and you. You walk and fall and rise as though someone holds your hand. You trust in steps, in foundations, in the promise of dawn. You build, you climb, you breathe against an invisible weight. Each act of standing is a quiet victory over collapse. Collapse is what gravity does best. Perhaps this is why you feel both humbled and uplifted by gravity's constant pull. You are small, yes, but you are part of a grand symphony of attraction that spans from subatomic particles to galaxy clusters. You are neither favored nor forgotten. You simply exist within its domain. In this gentle tug, there is a lesson. You do not need to be singled out to matter. You need only to participate. Every action you take resonates with the same force that shapes volcanoes and shepherds comets. Your life is a note in an infinite chorus composed by gravity's silent hand. And when you close your eyes tonight, feel that pull guiding you to rest. Let the steady insistence cradle you, not with judgment, but with unwavering certainty. In its quiet, you find the rhythm of heartbeats that echo through every corner of existence. You awaken to a gentle tug at every molecule in your body, a silent insistence settling each atom toward the ground beneath you. This force neither whispers nor shouts. It simply exists, an ever-present hum beneath your breaths, a cradle for your bones. It does not pause to welcome you, nor does it scold you for missteps. It only calls. Gravity is neither kind nor cruel. It shapes mountains and carves valleys with the same indifferent hand. It guides water into rivers and sculpts coastlines without ceremony. It makes no promises and offers no comfort. Yet, within its pull, you find the steadiness that allows you to stand, to walk, to lean against a rail without floating away into nothingness. When you rise, every fiber of your being stretches against gravity's embrace. Your muscles contract and release in concert, a quiet orchestration that resists the inevitable descent. You walk across floors, climb stairs, and feel that familiar weight settling you like a soft blanket. It is the patience of gravity that holds the air around you too, gathering oxygen and nitrogen to cloak the planet and keep your breath from drifting away. Turn your gaze upward, and you see the sky anchored by the same rule. Clouds press against an invisible ceiling before spilling rain. Birds flap through its juncture, suspended in a meeting between lift and pull. When you watch them glide, you imagine freedom, yet every wing beat negotiates with gravity, pushing against an unyielding, forced to carve moments of flight from the earthbound sea. In space, gravity's reach extends far beyond the planet. It binds the moon to Earth in a silent duet, tugging the tides in and out with predictable grace. It holds Mars' moons in quiet orbits and choreographs the dance of asteroids along curved paths. Even photons' packets of light bend around. Massive objects, tracing arcs so subtle that only careful measurement reveals their curvature. Gravity is the unseen sculptor of the heavens, shaping motion with no need for applause. Inside your own body, gravity choreographs life. Your heart pumps blood uphill, and tiny valves open and close so that each drop finds its way back down. Roots drift into soil in search of water, and trees grow tall by balancing pull and resistance. Every cell experiences gravity's touch, even though it is too soft to register consciously. Without it, your bones would weaken, your balance would falter, and the landscape of living things would reshape itself in unpredictable ways. Gravity does not distinguish. A pebble and a feather share the same acceleration in a vacuum, falling side by side toward the ground. The cosmos does not favor one's journey over the other. Resistance comes only from the cloak of air that whispers against the feathers. Fall. In the void beyond our atmosphere, or in a carefully sealed chamber, you would see them meet the earth together, equal in their descent. You are also subject to this equality, though you never freefall without cushion. Every heartbeat, every breath is a negotiation with gravity's claim. You build homes to resist it, wear shoes to soften its step, and dream of flight to escape its bonds. Yet, for all your ingenuity, you cannot rewrite the law. You can only work with it, carving moments of defiance before you return to its steady pull. In high-rise buildings, elevators shuttle you through vertical space in defiance. But the cables and motors do the work. Once the doors open, gravity resumes its quiet command. In airplanes, wings hold you aloft by converting forward motion into upward lift. But every takeoff and landing is a negotiation with descent. In rockets, engines roar to break free. Yet, even in the vacuum of space, gravity from distant bodies tugs at the hull, ever reminding you of its domain. The strength of gravity depends on mass. The heavier an object, the stronger its grip on surrounding space. The Earth's mass holds you. Here, the Sun's mass bends your planet's orbit into an almost perfect ellipse. Jupiter, with 2.5 times the mass of all other planets combined, shepherds asteroids in the asteroid belt and traps many comets in long loops. Every world in the solar system feels the subtle influence of every other, a cosmic web woven. By attraction alone, even time bends under the weight of gravity. Near massive objects, time slows, a phenomenon you cannot sense in daily life, but measure with precise clocks. A clock on a mountain peak ticks faster than one in a valley. This gravitational time dilation is proof that gravity does more than pull. It reshapes the fabric in which you exist. In the heart of a black hole, gravity is infinitely stronger, so our equations suggest. Space folds back on itself, and time becomes a loop indistinguishable from space. No light escapes, and every path leads inward. Yet, even here, gravity follows the same rule. Mass attracts mass, now locked in an unseeable embrace. How small you seem in the face of such might. You are a fleeting knot in the tapestry, a brief aberration in a pattern older than memory. Yet, you are also part of that pattern. The pulsing of your heart, the flow of your thoughts, the murmur of your breath all ripple against gravity's pull. Small eddies in a vast current dot. You build monuments to defy gravity, arches and bridges that span chasms, cathedrals that reach toward the heavens. You launch satellites to map the globe, space stations to float above its grasp. Yet every flight, every orbit, resolves back into pull. Even the International Space Station falls around Earth more than it falls toward it, circling at 5 miles per second to keep pace with curvature. Gravity's indifference becomes a mirror. It shows you what you truly are, neither favored nor forsaken, just held within a network of attraction that extends from subatomic realms to galactic clusters. You carve meaning in this indifference. You plant seeds, build fires, share acts of warmth against a backdrop that will outlast every sun, perhaps. This is the quiet lesson. You do not need special treatment to belong. You only need to exist. Gravity gathers you into the world, a simple invitation without fanfare. You sway in its arms, carried between heaven and earth, neither chosen nor rejected, simply included dot, and as you lie down to rest, you feel the weight settle once more, a soft announcement that you are here, held in place by a force older than time. In that gentle hold, you find a kind of belonging that asks nothing but your presence. You let your breath slow, your mind drift, and in the silent pull, you drift toward sleep. You are neither chosen nor overlooked by this silent force, but always held, and in its gentle claim, you find the unwavering lullaby that leads you into rest. There is a limit to how silent the universe can be, a temperature beneath which motion ceases. This is absolute zero, where particles surrender their jitter and heat bows out of existence. You imagine such a cold as a void deeper than any dark, a nothingness not only of light but of movement itself. In your world, warmth is life. You measure it in breaths and pulses, in the flow of blood and the hum of neurons. Each degree above zero is a gift, the shuffle of molecules that stirs sound, sight, taste, but descends slowly toward that silent point 0 Kelvin, and you find motion faltering, the orchestra of atoms quieting one by one, far from stars and galaxies. In the vast emptiness between them, temperatures drop toward this threshold. Cosmic microwave background hums at just under 3 Kelvin already, bordering on a whisper. Here, ships and satellites carry heaters into shadows, where thermometers plunge into single-digit kelvins, battling the relentless exhale of cool. On Earth, you create frigid labs to explore what happens near this boundary. You cool gases until they become Bose-Einstein condensades, millions of atoms collapsing into a single quantum whisper. They lose identity, merging into a collective state where waves overlap silently. In that haze, you glimpse the strange portrait of nature at its calmest, yet even there you cannot quite reach the absolute. Laws of quantum mechanics protect a residue of motion zero-point energy. Particles still tremble, uncertain in their held breaths. Even at vanishing warmth, the universe refuses to lie completely still. It clutches the tiniest heartbeat of existence, a reminder that even the void is alive with possibility. Imagine drifting in space where no star warms your skin, no solar wind stirs your hair. Your body, forged in fire, would become brittle in seconds. Water in your lungs would freeze, expand, and crack cells open. Your thoughts, encoded in swirling ions, would halt as membranes grow rigid. Life itself is an arrangement of motion without it. Identity dissolves in ice, but absolute zero is a horizon, not a destination. No matter how hard you chase it, you only approach. Thermometers freeze, then shatter. Refrigerators roar and falter. The chase teaches you about control and its limits. You learn that cold is not only absence of heat, but a realm where usual rules blur. In this near silence, time itself seems to slow. Clocks tick more slowly in cold, though you cannot discern the change. At cryogenic temperatures, materials shrink, contracts like breath exhaled. Metals become brittle, glasses quiver. The physical world tightens, as though drawing an exhale, preparing for rest. Yet in that hush, you find clarity. Instruments resonate more purely when thermal noise retreats. Quantum experiments become possible. You see the whisper of electrons tunneling, wave functions unfurling in patterns unmasked by heat. Even in near nothingness, the universe reveals its deeper structure. There is beauty in this quiet tool, like listening to wind through empty canyons, or the hush before dawn. You learn to appreciate motion when it returns. The soft click of a switch, the hum of a pump, the faint hiss of gas warming. Each return of warmth feels miraculous against the backdrop of stillness. And beyond laboratories, nature flirts with these extremes. In interstellar clouds, dust grains cool close to absolute zero, yet cosmic rays and starlight provide sporadic warmth. Electrons dance unpredictably, igniting reactions that seed molecules precursors to life. Even at the coldest reaches, the universe perseveres in creating complexity. This teaches you that stillness is not emptiness. Silence can hold stories. The cold remembers the fire that formed the cosmos, the Big Bang's blazing dawn echoing in every quiver of the coldest gas. Absolute zero is not the end, but a mirror reflecting origins, where the absence of motion points back to the first motion that gave rise to everything. In your mind, you trace the path from primordial fire to quantum chill. You feel the paradox of warmth hidden in the coldest places, of life emerging on the shoulders of near nothingness. You realize that existence is balanced on the edge between energy and quiet, between movement and rest. And as you lie beneath your covers, your body warm, you sense that same edge within yourself. Sleep is a descent toward stillness. Heartbeats slow, breath becomes shallow, thoughts drift toward silence. You approach your own absolute zero, not of temperature but of activity, letting the mind's motion fade into dreamless rest. You breathe in, and the air's warmth reminds you of every starlit furnace that forged these molecules. You exhale, and the chill of night slips softly against your skin. In this gentle sway between warmth and cold, you find a lullaby older than memory. There is a poetry in rules that never needed an audience. They existed before your first thought, before atoms gathered into planets, before galaxies spun their silent pirouettes. They do not wait for your approval. They do not care if you believe in them, name them, or even notice them. They simply are. These laws write themselves in patterns of balance. A falling apple and an orbiting moon follow the same script. One verses in gravity's ledger. A beam of light bends at a star's edge, and electrons whirl around atomic hearts. Each movement an echo of the same underlying melody. The same mathematics that chart the tides beneath your feet governs the explosion of distant supernova. You move in everyday life as if free, yet every step answers a question posed by invisible equations. Friction, inertia, force, resistance are voices in a dialogue you scarcely notice. When you lift your arm, you push against weight. When you let go, you feel the pull of mass claiming your hand. Each act is a negotiation with a rule set. You did not write in laboratories. Scientists coax these laws into revealing their silent elegance. They isolate particles, freeze them near absolute zero, and watch as quantum rules reshuffle reality. They measure peaks of probability and valleys of uncertainty, not to challenge the laws, but to learn their secret language. Even in confusion, the laws remain steadfast and different, but dependable. Consider symmetry, that hidden grace at nature's core, a snowflake's beauty, a butterfly's wings. Even the fields that fill the void of space, they unfold from symmetrical principles. Yet slight twists break perfect patterns, birthing diversity. Galaxies spiral left or right. Molecules choose chirality, and life emerges from tiny asymmetries. The same rule that demands balance also fosters difference. Time, too, obeys these laws. It flows forward because entropy insists that disorder must increase. You sense the future slipping from your grasp, one moment melting into the next. You watch ice cubes drip away. You watch stars age. You watch memories fade. The arrow of time is not kind to preservation, yet it gives narrative a gentle nudge, weaving moments into a tapestry you call existence. Across the cosmic expanse, the same constants persist. The speed of light shimmering at its relentless pace, Planck's constant humming at the quantum level, the gravitational constant holding matter in embrace. These numbers bind the universe in a stable architecture. If even one shifted, atoms would dissolve, stars would not ignite, planets would not form, and you would never have felt the breath in your lungs. Your body is a temple built by these laws. Your heartbeat controlled by electrical gradients and ion flows, follows rhythms derived from molecular rules. Your neurons spark by exchanging charged particles, whispering chemical messages that obey diffusion and reaction kinetics. Each thought, each dream, is a symphony conducted by biochemistry, itself bound by physical principles. And yet, nowhere in all this is there conscious design. There is no curator ensuring everything fits simply to host your awareness. The laws did not pause to consult you. They did not conspire on your behalf. They were written into reality by the cosmos itself, emerging from the interplay of existence and chance in the earliest fires of creation. Still, you engage with them as a partner might engage with a silent friend. You learn their grammar and vocabulary, crafting technologies that bend light, harness energy, and explore distant worlds. You build telescopes that peer into cosmic dawn and microscopes that reveal cell interiors. In each instrument, you trace the law's signature curves, a testament to your ability to read the universe's script. And when you forge ahead, you do so with humility. You know that your understanding is a flicker compared to the vast manuscript. Every discovery uncovers new questions. Black holes reveal paradoxes. Quantum mechanics defies intuition. Dark matter and dark energy hint at secrets you have yet to decode. The laws stretch beyond your reach, inviting you to wander further into their depths. Perhaps that is their greatest gift, not certainty, but wonder. The steadfastness of physical law gives you a foundation to stand on, and the mysteries they reveal spark your curiosity. They outlast civilizations, outlast stars, outlast galaxies, and perhaps outlast the universe itself. You, by contrast, exist for a moment long enough to ponder them, to dance with them, to feel both small and infinite in the quiet of your mind. You feel the pulse of these rules. They guide each inhale and exhale, each heartbeat and thought. Your dreams unfold within their boundaries, and even your sleep is shaped by thermal gradients and neural thresholds. There is no refuge from them, no escape hatch from their embrace. They are both cradle and cage, structure and spine. As you lie here, let the knowledge of these unwavering laws breathe calm into you. They will hold the stars in place when your eyes close. They will measure time's passage long after your name is gone, and they will balance the cosmos with an elegance that needs no applause. In their silent constancy, you find a mirror for your own fragility and strength. You are a fleeting moment in an ageless design. Yet, in the dance with these laws, you leave your own imprint: curiosity, creativity, compassion. Though you cannot alter the fundamental script, you write verses within it: art, science, love. These are your contributions to a universe that cares not, yet welcomes participation all the same. And as you drift toward sleep, you rest beneath equations older than memory, feeling the gentle certainty that will outlast every heartbeat and every breath. You awaken on a spinning rock, turning through darkness and light, carried by tides of molten metal and shifting plates. Earth did not whisper your name into being. It did not script your arrival. Instead, somewhere in its ancient soup of molecules, life found a way to open its eyes to the sky for the first time. This rock began as dust around a newborn star. Gravity gathered grains of stardust and gas into a molten orb that cooled into crust and sea. Volcanoes breathed primordial gas, sculpting an atmosphere that clung like a thin blanket. Lightning cracked open molecules, rain washed them into pools, and the first stirrings of simple chemistry swirled beneath sunlit ripples. In that vast prelude, no purpose guided the dance. Amino acids formed without intent, lipids arranged into membranes without awareness. Somewhere, a chain reaction flickered into self-copying patterns, the first fragile spark of what would become eyes, thoughts, and hearts. The universe, arranged in laws that do not know kindness, allowed a chance to stitch dead matter into living form. You are an heir of that chance. The molecules in your blood were sculpted in stellar furnaces. They washed through rivers and oceans, carried by tides that balanced the moon and sun. Through eons of trial and error, of mass extinctions and blossoming, biodiversity, the line from single cell to you, was threaded. No strategy oversaw the process. It was a winding journey through mutation and selection. Life's success on Earth is not a guarantee but a fluke. Many worlds orbit many stars, but only here. In this narrow niche of temperature and water and chemical balance did life bloom. You breathe oxygen that plants distill from sunlight. You eat food woven from photosynthesis. You walk on land shaped by ice and wind, by rivers that carved canyons over millennia. Your eyes, so finely tuned to green leaves and golden sunsets, reflect the quiet geometry of this planet. You see in wavelengths that whisper of chlorophylls, gift. Your limbs feel the pull of gravity that shaped your spine to curve and your feet to grip. Your lungs expand in the rhythm of winds that cross oceans, channeling currents that forged climates. You are part of an intricate tapestry woven by accidents and forces beyond your choosing. Consider the role of catastrophe. A giant rock collided with Earth, tilting its axis and birthing the moon. That collision shifted seasons, stabilized climate, and lit the night sky. It could have been too fierce, stripping away every drop of water. Instead, it provided a companion. In the sky, guiding tides and marking cycles for ancient creatures to sense. In ruin, there was creation. Then came the great oxygenation, when blue-green algae flooded the seas with oxygen as waste. What was poison to many became the foundation. For complex life, it transformed the skies and the chemistry of soils, making room for creatures that breathed deep lungs. What seems to be waste, in one context, becomes the very air you now inhale. Mass extinctions, too, prepared the stage. When 90% of species vanished, they opened empty niches for new forms. Dinosaurs fell, and mammals rose. Small, nocturnal ancestors of yours scurried under moonlight, adapting until they emerged under daylight as creatures of curiosity. You could not have emerged without holes in the tapestry where other threads ended, and still, there is so much you do not know. Deep beneath the crust lie mysteries of liquid iron and heat that drives the magnetic field, protecting you from solar storms. Inside that molten heart, gravity and rotation conspire to spin currents that shield your atmosphere. Without that invisible armor, this world would be a barren shell, in clouds and storms and oceans and winds. The planet's own systems dance in rhythms you study but cannot fully predict. Hurricanes spin like cosmic vortices, scaled down to water and air. Jet streams guide weather like unseen rivers of vapor. The seasons trace a circular pattern dictated by tilt, timing, and orbit that wobble over ages in Milankovitch cycles, nudging ice ages and warm interludes. And in all this, you came to see. Your eyes evolved to navigate forests and plains. Your brain evolved to ask, to wonder, to create stories. You traced constellations in the night, naming them after myths and gods. You mapped the globe, climbed mountains, dived into seas. You reached beyond your world in telescopes and satellites, seeking others like you. Yet you remain a beautiful accident. No overseer designed your form. No blueprint guaranteed your arrival. You are the product of trials unimaginably vast, of chaos, shaped by time. In that, there is both humility and wonder. You owe your gaze to impersonal forces, and still, you find meaning in the eyes that peer back at the stars. And so you lie down tonight. On this fluke of rock spinning among dust, you breathe air that is the legacy of ancient chemistries. You feel the pulse of life shaped by chance and necessity. You exist against incredible odds, a momentary spark in a planet's vast chronicle beneath your feet. Continents drift in a continental dance that never stops. Plates collide, mountain ranges thrust skyward, then crumble under rain and gravity, feeding rivers with sediment that nurtures plains. Each grain carries history minerals recycled through eons of growth and decay, a silent testament to time's patient artistry. Air, water, rock, and life cycle through an alchemy of exchange. Carbon binds in shells and skeletons, becomes buried in sediment, then returns in volcanic breath. Nitrogen cycles through bacteria in soil and roots, fueling plant growth that sustains herbivores and, in turn, carnivores. Every breath you take is woven into these ancient loops, an unbroken thread linking you to the first microbial pioneers. In twilight forests, fungi weave underground networks, connecting trees like an invisible web. Their collaboration orchestrates the flow of nutrients, supporting canopies that filter light into emerald patterns. In that dim glow, your ancestors sensed shelter, named wood and moss, and learned to kindle fire that transformed food and forged culture. Sparks flew not just from stones, but from minds ignited by discovery. Life's tapestry on Earth is a mosaic of relationships. Pollinators dance with flowers, symbionts share nutrients with hosts, predators shape prey into swiftness and cunning. These interactions tuned ecosystems across millennia, creating balance until now, when a single species reshapes the planet with one curious mind. You hold power to protect or unravel the tapestry that bore you. This awareness deepens your sense of place. To stand on a beach smelling salt and algae, to watch plankton pulses in bioluminescent waves, to feel sand shift under moonlit tides. Each moment connects you to cycles older than humanity. You are a participant, not merely an observer. Your choices ripple through webs of life, echoing in flowering seasons and migrations across horizons. The eyes that grace your face are a triumph of evolution's unthinking craft. Photoreceptors, tuned to shifting light, guide your path through forests and cities alike. Cones distinguish color from dawn to dusk. Rods let you see in moonlight's soft glow. Those same cells, over millions of years, molded the universe's palette into meaning learning, which shades signal fruit, which shadow hides predators, which glow hints at home. Consciousness emerged in this vibrant context, simple awareness growing into reflective thought, memory, imagination. Your mind can wander across epochs, from shell-strewn shorelines to star-swept skies. You ask questions that no creature before dared. Why are we here? What is beauty? How can we shape a future for the fluke that made us? Culture arose as an extension of this question. Art and story, song and ritual, ways to mark existence on a chance planet. You painted in caves, sculpted stone, built monuments to the sun and the dead. You mapped stars and seasons, recorded events on parchment and pixels. Your creativity is a candle in the wilderness, a defiance against oblivion, yet humility remains essential. You are a fluke, recalling the improbable sequence that yielded eyes to see and minds to wonder. In that recognition, you find reverence for the fragile sphere you call home. You listen for its heartbeat in wind-rustling leaves, in waves breaking on shore, in the pulse of your own veins. Tonight, you return to solitude under vast skies. You sense the pull of life and death cycles, cells dividing even as others fade, ecosystems renewing while some edges fray. You hold both wonder and responsibility in that silent tension. Being a fluke does not remove meaning. It handcrafts it. In each breath, each spark of thought, each heartbeat extending a lineage older than you know. Earth offered a stage for consciousness to arise, not out of design, but out of opportune chemistry and deep time. In you, the planet looks back at itself, asking questions that guide stewardship and awe. Without intention, without plan, life echoed into thought. You are that echo, and in your reflection lies the seed of tomorrow's chorus. As you settle into stillness, feel the lineage of stars and molecules in your blood. Each heartbeat is a phrase in Earth's long saga, each breath a whisper of ancient seas. You rest on a fluke that invites reflection, growth, and care, and in that gentle invitation, you find purpose woven from randomness and resilience. And in this quiet wonder, you drift toward a new question that waits in the hush between your breaths. There is no whisper guiding your cells, no architect sketching your form. Instead, you carry a manuscript of trials, paragraphs of mutations, layered one after another in a quiet ledger of survival. Each line is a small change, a slight advantage here, a harmless detour there, written in the chemical code of life itself. Your DNA is not a blueprint, but a storyteller's rough draft. Base pairs swap, slip, and sometimes break, creating new sentences in the long tail of heredity. Most edits vanish unnoticed, like a stray comma in a vast novel. Some produce nothing more than a color shift in petals, a rare few forge tools for life to thrive, a slightly sharper tooth, a more sensitive ear, or wings that catch the breeze. This process is neither kind nor cruel. It is indifferent logic, the cold arithmetic of reproduction and variation. Genes replicate, copying themselves with microscopic machinery. Occasionally, an error slips through. And if that error helps an organism stay alive long enough to pass it on, it lives again in the next generation. Otherwise, it dissolves into oblivion, a forgotten sentence in the story. You are the sum of those whispers in stone and bone, the shape of your limbs, the curve of your spine, the beat of your heart all bear the fingerprints of chance. Your fingertips, sensitive enough to read Braille, evolved from simple pads that once learned to grasp branches. Your brain, soft and folded, carries ancestry that survived ancient predators by cleverness, by risk, by subtle advantage. In forests of deep time, eyes blinked into being without directive. Simple, light-sensitive spots became lenses, reflexes became focus, and vision emerged as a tool for life to navigate shadows and sunlit clearings. Each step towards sight was a gambler mutation that held or fell. And yet, here you are, looking up at moonlight and marveling. Evolution does not aim for perfection. It crafts compromises. The human spine, designed from a four-legged ancestor, must bear upright posture and also survive the tests of gravity. Your birth canal threads the newborn head through narrow bones, making childbirth precarious. Your lungs must fold into a chest originally meant for crawling creatures. Each adaptation carries baggage, a testimony to history's detours. This history unfolds in populations, not individuals. You are a node on a vast network of related lives. DNA flows like water through a branching river system. Tributaries meet, split, and sometimes rejoin. You share genes with ancient cousins you will never know. Some of their mistakes are to your advantage. Some of your quirks are echoes of their survival. Chance plays its hand at every turn. A stray meteor reshaped continents, creating barriers that led to divergent species. A shift in climate opened new niches, favoring creatures that learned to stand and look farther. Pathogens drove immune systems into complex dances of attack and defense. In every household of genes, random events made names and footprints that endure. You often think of evolution as backward, yet it is forward, endlessly improvising. There is no goal, only the next moment's success. Traits that were useful in one context can become burdens. In another, a thick coat in winter becomes a liability in summer heat. Feathers that once warmed reptiles turned butterflies into creatures of flight. Evolution's path twists unpredictably, guided by a simple rule. survive, reproduce, repeat. This rule yields astonishing outcomes. The electric eel's shock, the chameleon's color shift, the albatross's soaring wings, all are creative side effects of necessity. Your own capacity for language, art, and abstract thought grew from neural circuits that once helped squirrels remember nut caches. Creativity is an evolutionary byproduct, not a divine gift. Yet through these mechanisms emerges beauty. You see patterns in snowflakes and seashells, symmetries in flowers and galaxies. You sense meaning in stories, a reflection of the patterns that shaped you. The same logic that scattered stars across the night sky choreographed the rise of consciousness. In your skull, does this cold logic diminish you? It reveals you as part of a grand experiment, a moment in nature's long improvisation. You bear the marks of countless edits, a patchwork quilt of survival, and within that quilt you have stitched purpose and compassion, weaving values that guide your choices. In understanding evolution, you learn humility. You realize that your best traits are neither entitled nor unique, just fortunate variations that found purchase. Yet your awareness of this process transforms mere survival into stewardship. You become custodian of the legacy that brought you here, shaping the conditions for future experiments in life. Your hands, shaped by millions of years of tool use, now build technologies that could alter the course of evolution itself. You edit genomes, breed new varieties, and reshape ecosystems. The logic that once moved by chance now bends to intention. With this power comes a question: how will you guide the next chapter of life's story? And in your mind, you ponder that question. As night deepens, you sense the fragile line between design and accident, between destiny and randomness. You carry both the echoes of countless errors and the spark of conscious choice. As you drift toward sleep, let this realization settle. You are a beautiful fluke and an intentional actor, a creature of chance, yet aware of that chance. Your life is a chapter in evolution's unending poem, written in code and poetry alike. In the hush between heartbeats, you wonder how your next choice will echo in the silent ledger of life's unfolding. There is a flicker in the dark corridors of your mind, a pulse of electrical whispers that carries echoes of ancient stardust. Your brain is not a solid fortress, it's a shifting sea of cells, each one a vessel of chemistry and charge, dancing to rhythms set by forces older than life itself. You do not feel the gravity of atoms moving within synapses. You only sense the faint glow of awareness, that gentle warmth of thought rising like dawn. Neurons fire, release tiny clouds of neurotransmitters, and ignite distant partners in a silent language. Every spark is a choice, a decision between memory and forgetting, between curiosity and rest. Entropy presses in on every system, pulling toward disorder. Without energy, without input, ordered patterns unravel. Your brain is no exception. You breathe, consume nutrients, pump blood to sustain the chemistry that keeps your mind alive. Each breath fuels complexity. Each heartbeat carries oxygen like a cosmic messenger, staving off the quiet nothing that seeks to dissolve thought in the grand ledger of the universe. Your brain is a brief footnote, a momentary swirl of information. Yet inside this swirl, you weave narratives. You string together impressions of light and sound. You layer emotion upon image, and you name the world. You call a face by a name, a feeling by a word, and in doing so, you bind experience into story. Stories are your rebellion against oblivion. a memory of laughter at dusk, the taste of salt on a breeze. The ache of parting itch becomes a lantern in the dark, holding off the void for a moment longer. Without story, moments collapse into silence. With story, they echo, resonating in dreams and in tales retold. Your brain constructs maps of space, of time, of relationships. It catalogs patterns to guide you through forests and streets alike. It predicts outcomes, learns from errors, and adjusts probabilities like a gambler refining strategy. This constant updating is both grace and burden, a gift of foresight and a source of worry. Yet for all its power, the brain stumbles in its own maze. It confuses what it imagines with what it perceives. It clings to pain long after danger has passed. It fears endings more than beginnings. It searches for meaning in random patterns, sees faces in clouds, reads intention in cosmic haze. Still, you persist. You cultivate practice, mindfulness, meditation, gentle repetition that trains the mind to settle. You sing lullabies to soothe the inner storm. You write journals to preserve moments before they vanish. You create art to make intangible emotions tangible. Each act is a negotiation with impermanence. Consider dreams, those nightly miracles where the brain replays fragments of day, weaving them into new tapestries. In sleep, your conscious guard sleeps too, and the subconscious wanders free. You meet yourself in hidden corridors, in landscapes built from snippets of memory, an island shaped by conversations, a mountain carved by recollections of laughter. This nightly voyage sustains your waking world. It clears debris of stress, consolidates learning, rehearses fears in safe theaters. It is the brain's own method of resistance, turning chaos into rehearsal, shock into story. Without dreams, memories falter, skills fade, and mood sags. You also build external crutches, photographs, diaries, voice notes, artifacts meant to outlast fragile recall. You photograph sunsets because you know the mind will fail to preserve. Every hue, you jot down dreams before they vanish like morning mist. You pass down stories through generations, hoping to anchor your fleeting self in time's relentless river. Language itself is an astonishing trick. Symbols on a page, sounds. In the air, they carry ideas across distance and time. A word becomes a vessel for concept, a shared hallucination that unites minds. Poetry distills emotion into image. Science encodes pattern into equation. Both are means of telling the universe that you matter. Your brain houses both doubt and wonder. Doubt whispers that memory is flawed, that perception is biased, that purpose is illusion. Wonder counters with glimpses of awe, the night sky spilling its secrets, the complexity of a single cell, the vast web of life that threads through earth, sea, and sky. You feel small and immense at once. Neuroscience peels back layers of mystery, revealing circuits and chemical cascades. You learn of mirror neurons that mirror others' emotions, of reward pathways that light up at kindness, of fear circuits that guard survival. Yet every discovery prompts new questions. What is consciousness? Where does thought begin? Can a pattern of molecules ever know itself? You are taught to love brightness, the sun on skin, the spark of fire, the glow of cities. Yet your eyes evolved beneath night. Your pupils widen, rods awaken, and suddenly the absence of light becomes its own kind of presence. You read patterns. In this absence, constellations traced across black stories stitched between pinpricks. Meaning blooms in the spaces, not just the stars. Astronomers call it interstellar medium, intergalactic void, dark energy, dark matter labels for what cannot be touched by ordinary sight. But you feel it in another way, in the quiet that lets you hear your own pulse, in the stillness that slows racing thoughts, in the pause between breaths where nothing needs to happen. Darkness is not just what is missing, it is what allows you to notice what remains. Consider the scale. Galaxies themselves are mostly void, stars separated by years of travel at light speed. Your own solar system is a cathedral of emptiness, tiny rocks and thin gases spaced across vast corridors where sunlight grows faint. Beyond Neptune, the Kuiper belt thins into Oort cloud whispers, and beyond that lies the interstellar sea-cold, gentle, and almost pure vacuum. Most of the universe is a hallway, not a room, and still, even here, physics hums. Virtual particles shimmer in and out, a quantum flicker that never fully rests. Neutrinos slice through emptiness and through you, barely ever touching, ghost-like. Messengers from nuclear furnaces. Gravitational waves ripple from distant mergers, stretching and squeezing space so subtly that only the most patient instruments can feel the tremor. The dark is not silent. It is simply quiet enough to hear these whispers. You think of darkness as lack, but it is also cradle. Stars are born in shadowed nurseries, nebulae, where dust blocks starlight, allowing gas to collapse without the push of radiation. Within those clouds, gravity gathers atoms into spheres, pressure awakens fusion, and light erupts. Every glow you admire began in obscurity. The dark midwifed, the bright. Between galaxies, filaments of dark matter form a cosmic web, unseen scaffolding that guides where visible matter clumps. You cannot see this lattice, but computer simulations and gravitational lensing reveal its silhouette. Vast, silent architecture, more void than thread, yet decisive in patterning the universe. The unseen shapes the scene. The empty directs the full. Inside your mind, a similar dance. Vast cavities of quiet between bursts of thought. You do not think constantly. You pause, drift, reset. Insight often arrives after silence, like a star igniting after millennia of gathering. The darkness between ideas gives shape to understanding, just as the spaces between notes make music actual rather than noise. When power fails and cities go dark, the Milky Way returns to those who forgot it. People look up and gasp not at the blackness, but at what the blackness reveals. You are a creature who remembers through contrast. Without night, day loses tenderness. Without silence, sound loses depth. You need the canvas as much as the color. The universe's darkness is not uniform. There are regions where nothing we know can enter or leave, cosmic event horizons around black holes, boundaries beyond which light is imprisoned. There are voids, where galaxies are rare and distances immense, hungry gaps in the large-scale structure. There are also shadows cast by dust lanes, where starlight cannot reach. Every kind of dark tells a different story. Even the word dark carries bias, a human metaphor for ignorance or fear, but the cosmos uses it neutrally. Dark matter is only dark because it does not couple with light. Dark energy is dark because it hides from direct detection. They are placeholders for mysteries, invitations to keep looking. The dark is a question mark stretched across billions of light years. You, too, have portions of yourself unlit, memories blurred, feelings unnamed, potentials untested. You often rush to flood them with light, to understand immediately. Yet some parts need shadow to ripen. Seeds do not sprout under constant sun. They need underground silence, coolness, and time. Your growth echoes cosmic rhythms, emergence from quiet, return to quiet. Cosmic microwave background, radiation, and afterglow of the Big Bang breaths, the entire universe. A faint wash of photons stretched into microwaves by expansion. It is darkness with a memory, a veil colored slightly by ancient fire. When radio telescopes tune to it, they hear a near-uniform hiss, speckled by tiny variations that seeded all later structure. Even the dark carries fingerprints. Between stars, dust grains wander, coated with ices, water, ammonia, methanol. On their surfaces, complex molecules slowly assemble, step by frozen step. Time in the dark is generous. Reactions too slow for warm climes proceed over millions of years. Then a shockwave passes, warming the ice, releasing the molecules' chemistry's quiet labor revealed in a blaze. The dark works patiently, then gives the bright. Your own night sky glows in ways you rarely notice. Air glows from oxygen and nitrogen. Zodiacal light from dust scattering sunlight. Even the gentle luminescence of the upper atmospheres, subtle veils over true black. Pure darkness is rare. Even the emptiest space holds a photon here, a particle there. Nothingness is an ideal, like absolute zero. Approached, never touched. Meaning needs mystery to stay alive. Wonder needs silence to grow wide. Olbers asked why the sky stays dark when stars seem endless. Distance, dust, and the red-shifting stretch of space answer quietly. Light loses visible energy on the road, sliding to longer waves your eyes cannot hold. Darkness becomes the remainder, the balance after photons drift beyond perception. Night is not emptiness, but a calculus of limits. Your pupils widen, chemistry shifts. Rhodopsin resets so a single photon can ring a bell inside a cell. This is biological faith in faintness. Vision, believing in almost nothing and finding enough. Pilots learn to scan gently, never stare, because peripheral rods work better in the dark. Even your body knows how to greet low light with patience. Astronomers stack exposures for hours, drizzling buildings into pools of signal. What looks blank reveals galaxies when patience accumulates. The Hubble ultra-deep field began as a patch of nothing, then bloomed into thousands of ancient islands. Sometimes, to see what hides, you do nothing but wait, letting darkness surrender. Secrets at its own slow pace. Silence teaches the eye to widen, the mind to linger kindly over mystery. And now, as your eyes grow heavy, you let outer darkness meet inner dimming. You loosen your grip on brightness, trusting that the night will hold you. The cosmos hums softly in wavelengths you cannot sense. Yet you are part of that hum, a low note under starlight. A quiet certainty hums in every ray you feel. The sun does not pause its work to wait for your smile or your tears. It burns because hydrogen must fuse into helium, because gravity must collapse matter into core temperatures so fierce that atoms surrender their electrons. Its light is a testament to necessity, not to longing. You wake before dawn's edge and know the sun will rise, but it does not rise for you alone. It tips the sky in pale gold for every creature, every blade of grass, every silent stone. It touches deserts and reefs, mountains and forests, deserts and cities alike. It does not choose which life it warms. It warms because fusion cannot be paused. In the quiet hours before waking, you sense the first heat on your eyelids. You stretch and breathe the warmth in, as if letters from the cosmos are pressed gently against your skin. You do not hear the sun's roar, for it speaks in wavelengths beyond human ears. Yet you feel its hum in the hum of solar wind, in the beating of your own heart. Every dawn you greet is powered by fires 1,000 times hotter than your furnace. Deep in the core, pressure squeezes protons together, forging elements in a crucible. You can barely imagine. Photons born there begin an odyssey, scattering through millions of layers before emerging on the surface and racing across space at light's swift pace. Your morning coffee, your blooming garden, your borrowed time all trace back to that core. The sun's brilliance is a curve of spectrum, ultraviolet whispering of fierce UV bursts, visible light painting roses and oceans, infrared like a soft breath against winter's cheek. You wear sunglasses to dim its glare and sunscreen to soften its sting. Yet, when you remove those protections, you are naked to a star that knows nothing of your frailty, your laughter, your dreams. In midsummer, the sun's zenith sets deserts ablaze, rocks bake, mirages dance, and life finds refuge in shade. Cacti store water, creatures burrow deep. Humans sip cool water, remembering or forgetting that the sun cares not whether you bloom or wither. It burns because it must, a celestial engine that will outlast every city. You plant seeds with faith that sunlight will coax sprouts from soil. You tend gardens in its benevolence, watching green unfurl like silent praise. Yet the sun does not whisper approval. It lends conditions, leaving life to invent its own thanks. Flowers open not because the sun requested it, but because it provides the spark of photosynthesis that feeds petals and roots alike at noon. You cast a shadow that shrinks under an unseeing fire. You might claim center stage, but your silhouette is only a pause in light's passage. The sun traces its arc without glance, unburdened by the weight of ego or expectation. Its journey across the sky is geometry and motion, not narrative or desire. In winter, its rays slant through frosty air. You welcome each beam as a guest, a reminder of summer's promise. You count hours of light, mark solstices and equinoxes. Yet the sun follows a path written by tilt and orbit, not by your calendar or your longings. You find comfort in its return, but it does not return out of loyalty. It returns because Earth's tilt carries you back to light. Consider the million-year dance of star life. The sun, midway through its 10 billion-year career, is a star. It fuses fuel at a steady rate, neither rushed nor leisurely. One day it will swell into a red giant, devour inner planets, then shed its outer layers to leave a remnant white dwarf glowing in the cosmic dusk. That future does not hinge on your presence. It will unfold regardless of your thoughts, your joys, your grief. Yet here, in this moment, you bask. You trace sunspots, cooler planes on its surface, dark circles drifting in patterns. You watch solar flares erupt, arching loops of plasma that ride magnetic fields in explosive arcs. Charged particles stream past Earth, igniting auroras in polar skies, painting curtains of green and purple across silent nights. You marvel at these displays, as though the sun performed for you, though it performs always. Your body dances with solar influence. Melatonin ebbs and flows with sunlight, guiding sleep's rhythms. Vitamin D synthesis in skin carries the imprint of starlight into your bones. Circadian clocks tick in each cell, reset by dawn's warmth. You measure time in sunlight, Yet that time belongs to planetary spin and orbital mechanics, not to your schedule or your will. Even in space, the sun's reach persists. Solar sails catch its gentle pressure, pushing spacecraft across void. Comets develop tails that stream away from the sun, their icy hearts reflecting a heat that sublimes them. Solar wind sculpts the heliosphere, a bubble that shields planets from galactic radiation. All these effects flow from a star indifferent to consciousness. You capture solar power in panels, converting photons into electrons that light nights and spin motors. You store summer's heat to warm winter's chill. You bend the sun's generosity to sustain your homes, your industries, your lives. In every innovation, you acknowledge its gift. But the sun does not concede. It keeps fusing, keeps shining, unaware of the gratitude it inspires in quiet meditation. You visualize the sun at the horizon, a glowing orb dipping into atmospheric haze. You breathe in its warmth. You breathe out tension. You practice gratitude for light that asks nothing in return. You practice presence under a fire that neither knows nor cares that you stand beneath it. What meaning does the sun find in your worship? None. It cares not for your homage, your songs, your temples of stone. Yet perhaps that is the truest kind of beauty existence, unconditioned unacknowledgement. A star burns because physics demands it, a symphony of fusion that resonates across space and time. You look up at noon and realize that you are encompassed by a brilliance far vaster than any human need. The sun's torchlights, countenance, clouds, oceans, and you. It warms your blood, against which you measure your own pulse. Its energy drives tectonic cycles via heating of Earth's atmosphere, swelling wind and water into geological force. The sun's reach is both intimate and colossal. In that understanding, you find solace. You do not need the sun's intention to feel its grace. Its radiance is enough an austere gift that outlasts every era of humankind. You rest in its glow as one might rest beneath an ancient tree, certain that life continues through seasons. Beyond your rise and fall, tonight the sun will dip again, yielding to Earth's shadow. Its absence will draw starlight into view, reminding you of cycles. You may feel loss as daylight wanes, but you know it will return, not for you, but because orbits persist. Your longing for light will be met by an indifferent star, yet in that meeting, beauty thrives. You stand under a fire that never notices you, and still you feel seen. You are a witness to a process that needs no witness, a silent partner in a cosmic ritual of hydrogen and heat. There is a quiet truth in every ending. It arrives not with thunder, but with a gentle sigh that ripples through time itself. You learn this when you watch a star exhaust its fuel, its core collapsing until gravity's gentle hand becomes a crushing embrace. The once brilliant beacon dims to red, then fades into a white ember, a ghost of its former self. Finally, it cools to a black dwarf, a silent monument buried in cosmic ash. This is the fate not only of solitary stars, but of entire galaxies. Across billions of years, galaxies roam the universe like drifting shells. They merge in titanic embraces, dance into spirals, and flicker in bursts of starbirth. Yet each star that ignites depletes the reservoir of hydrogen, and each merger scatters stars across expanding space. The grand spirals and glittering clusters will one day disperse into quiet constellations of lonely orphans. Time itself seems to stretch toward this quiet. You imagine a horizon where the last ember fades and nothing more ignites. In that darkness, Even black holes succumb to the slow leak of Hawking radiation, evaporating across unimaginable eons. Their fierce pull becomes a soft drift, a final breath in the tapestry of existence. Entropy swells, a tide that cannot be turned. You feel its pressure in every ordered system, every cell in your body, every memory you hold dear. Your thoughts form patterns of connection, weaving meaning against the current of decay. Yet you are part of the same ocean, every pulse and synapse edging toward equilibrium. And here you are, a flicker within a vast cosmic overture. You awaken each day beneath a sun that will one day swallow inner planets before fading into a faint star. You build lives on a world shaped by tectonic dance and microbial architects. You write stories, celebrate beginnings, mourn endings, and yet your entire journey is a single note in an epic that knows no grand crescendo. What does it mean to dance on a stage that has no final curtain call? The universe will not rise to hail your presence. It will not pause to lament your passing. There will be no trumpet fanfare, no celestial ovation. The cosmos does not revolve around applause, yet you persist. You craft purpose in the fleeting hours you inhabit. You place value on moments between dawn and dusk. You build love that outlasts seconds, faith that outlasts lifetimes. You write poems and songs, believing they matter even if the pages vanish in fire or flood. On a human scale, you mark chapters, childhood, youth, adulthood, the deep night of old age. Each phase is a passage further from birth's warmth and closer to your personal quiet. But in that passage you learn, heal, connect, and grow. Joy and sorrow sculpt your character like stardust accreting into planets. You learn that meaning is woven, not granted. It does not fall from the sky like stardust. You gather it like firewood, one branch at a time, building warmth against the inevitable chill. You choose to kindle compassion, curiosity, and creativity, regardless of the ultimate outcome. Imagine the final universe, dilated emptiness where temperature hovers near absolute zero. Photons scarce, particles sparse, motion almost still. A cosmos stretched thin, where even the faintest glow has drifted beyond reach. No whispers of creation remain. Only silence extends beyond the depth of stars. The universe enters the dark era. In this epoch, black dwarfs drift through empty space like silent embers from a fire long extinguished. With no fresh hydrogen to ignite, they cannot radiate visible light. Only faint heat leaks away in infrared whispers that slowly fade. Over trillions of years, these remnants grow cold, merging rarely in slow gravitational dances. Each collision may spark a faint glow, but those sparks flicker quickly, swallowed by the vast, widening emptiness. Then comes the black hole era, when only the darkest anchors remain. These titans slowly evaporate through Hawking radiation, a process as quiet as snow settling. Each photon emitted is a whisper of mass lost from a singularity. It takes timescales beyond comprehension, longer than the current age of the universe, multiplied many millions of times before a black hole completely vanishes. When the last quanta of radiation escape, the final traces of gravity's most extreme objects dissolve into diffuse radiation, mixing with the dark. Beyond that, the universe enters the degenerate era, when matter itself succumbs to the relentless advance of entropy. Protons, those sturdy building blocks of atoms, may decay into lighter particles in processes unobserved but predicted by grand theories. If protons decay, then every nucleus unravels, releasing energy in faint bursts, leaving behind electrons and neutrinos. Over unimaginable eons, all complex structures vaporize, leaving only a wispy sea of fundamental particles adrift. In the far future, the cosmos approaches true nothingness. Quantum fluctuations in the vacuum may briefly spark into particles, only to vanish as quickly as they appear. Some cosmologists imagine a universe where random fluctuations give birth to fleeting, consciousness-Boltzmann brains that flicker into existence unbidden, only to dissolve in emptiness. These thought experiments remind you that consciousness itself is a fragile arrangement of particles and energy, held together by improbability. Yet you exist in the era of stars and galaxies, a golden age where warmth and light are abundant. You are part of the bridge between creation and decay, a conscious moment strung between cosmic dawn and heat death. Your awareness arises when fusion burns brightest in the sky. Your capacity to love, to create, to question dissolves in the same physics that gives birth to stars. When you consider the possibility of a false vacuum collapse, you confront the notion that space itself could change phase, unleashing a bubble of new laws that erases every structure. This idea is unsettling because it arrives without warning, converting emptiness into something entirely different. Yet whether that happens or not, the universe you know marches toward a quiet stillness, guided by unyielding rules. You may wonder why you feel melancholy at the end. Perhaps it is the same instinct that makes music so moving, an awareness of brevity that deepens appreciation of each note. You remember the taste of rain, the laughter of children, the hush of snowfall moments that flash with clarity precisely because you know they will end in the face of cosmic silence. You choose to weave your own symphony. Your acts of kindness, your moments of wonder, your curiosity, and your art are melodies that echo beyond your personal lifespan. They ripple through the lives of others, creating harmonies that last longer than a single note. Each conversation, each embrace, becomes a testament that consciousness can resist oblivion through connection. So you move through your days, mindful of endings, even the smallest ones, and find beauty in beginnings. You learn that every sunrise contains promise precisely because it will one day become a sunset. You hold both in your heart, the warmth of dawn and the quiet of dusk, knowing that fullness depends on both poles of experience. In this tapestry, woven by birth and decay, you find purpose in the impermanent. You see that endings are not failures, but integral verses in the song of existence. Each conclusion makes way for something else: memory, legacy, transformation. And in this cycle, you discover that living itself is the refrain that carries meaning when all else falls silent. Now, as you lie beneath the quiet skies, you feel the weight of eons and the promise of each breath. You think of your heartbeat, a rhythmic defiance of silence, a pulse that stitches now to tomorrow. Each thought, each dream, becomes a luminous ember against the gathering dark. In the endless symphony, your note is brief but resonant, carrying warmth into the unfolding silence. You rest in this moment, neither denied by finality nor blind to its approach. You find solace in the question itself. What melody will you offer before the music ends and memories linger eternally? You feel the vastness around you, indifferent to every hope and fear that stirs inside your chest. The cosmos unfolds without a glance at your laughter or your tears. No force curves its path to cradle your days. No star hesitates in its course to light your night. You exist within a tapestry woven by gravity and chance, threads of matter drawn by laws that hold no memory of your brief passage. And yet, here you are, breathing, willing, dreaming, the only witness to your own becoming. There is no cosmic hand that guides your steps, no celestial script that spells your name. Constellations trace ancient patterns born of random alignments, not of purpose meant for you. You chart the heavens, give them names, and draw lines between distant points of light, weaving stories that ease your solitary gaze. Those myths and legends blossom in your mind like flowers in desert sands, delicate, ephemeral, beautiful precisely because they have no firm root in the void. In the pulse of your heart, you feel the echo of creation. Your cells divide and gather, aching toward complexity in defiance of entropy's gentle tug toward disorder. You build, you craft, you shape worlds of your own, a poem on paper, a garden in bloom, a house perched by the shore. Each act of creation is a quiet rebellion against the universe's indifferent rule. You plant seeds not because planets demand forest, but because you hope for green. You raise children not because stars decree lineage, but because you love. Love blooms in this margin of meaning. It grows like a wildflower in cracked pavement, surprising in its resilience. You give your heart away, knowing it cannot survive. Unbroken, yet you open it anyway. There is no cosmic ledger praising your devotion, no universal force returning compassion with equal measure. And still, you risk the ache, the loss, the moments when absence reminds you of vacancy. Love, too, becomes a declaration that something matters, even when silence surrounds it. You shape your days from fragments of time that the universe stretches without pause. Each sunrise arrives without knowing you await its light, and each sunset ebbs away without regret for your sorrows. The planet spins in its orbit, indifferent to nations, indifferent to dreams. Yet you measure life in these arcs of day and night, finding rhythm in opposition, learning that beginnings and endings are companions, partners in a dance that has no final act. In this space, intention arises from emptiness. You sketch plans. On blank pages, set forth on journeys that stars do not chart for you. You navigate by intuition, by memory, by flickers of hope that spark like distant galaxies. These beacons guide you even when galaxies themselves drift beyond reach. You learn that meaning is not delivered pre-packaged in cosmic currency, but forged in the heat of your own striving. Consider the mountain you climb, each step carved by erosion and uplift. The peak remains indifferent to your ascent, shaped by tectonic plates and gravity's slow hand. Yet reaching that summit, you stand breathless under an uncaring sky and feel awe curl in your lungs. The mountain does not celebrate your triumph, but you do. You imprint significance on rock and sky, on wind that grazes your cheeks and clouds that drift between you and infinity. Your mind spans between neuron and nebula, tumbling through ideas that ripple across time. You imagine worlds where life grows, among sulfur springs or under oceanic ice. You consider the one chance that seeded Earth with life, a cosmic accident of chemistry and circumstance. In imagining alternatives, you honor the miracle of your own being. You stand on the edge of possibility and invent recipes for stars and cells and souls. Sculpting meaning in a meaningless domain requires courage. It asks you to build in the face of unknowing, to whisper into the dark and trust your voice carries weight. You place one foot before another, write one sentence after the next, even when the outcome dissolves into forgetfulness. You love despite loss, create despite impermanence, hope despite the void's patient gaze. And that gaze is not judgment, it is absence. The blackness between stars is not hungry for your presence. It is simply open, an echo chamber where your whispers return to you. In that return, you find feedback. You learn your place in a system that spins without center, that holds patterns but no purpose. The void becomes your canvas, and longing becomes your brush. In quiet moments, you face the horizon where sea meets sky, and you see a boundary that is only appearance. The ocean continues beyond your sight, and the sky curves away without an edge. Boundaries exist in perception, in stories you tell to frame existence. You learn to rest in ambiguity, to trust that questions need not yield answers. Each question deepens the experience of living, a winding trail with no final clearing. Generations plant flags on peaks and footprints on dust, but none remain. Ruins cradle bones and memories beneath collapsing stones. In time, every monument succumbs to the work of wind and water. Every name carved in granite softens into lichen. Even galaxies merge and vanish. All marks fade, yet you leave impressions in hearts that outlast you. Your kindness, your laughter, your art, these ripple beyond the span of your own breath. So you speak gentle truths to yourself. You are not the point, and that is the point. Without designated purpose, you gather moments like fireflies in a jar, each glow a testament to your choice to see. Meaning blossoms where intention meets possibility, not where purpose predetermines outcome. You live for the flicker of insight, the spark of connection, the warmth of creativity, night after night. You look upward through windows of glass, through gaps in clouds, through the spaces between your own questions. Stars wink in responses you cannot decipher. Their light takes years, centuries, millennia to reach your eyes, carrying stories long since concluded. You read into their distant echoes, tales of beginnings and endings, trust in cycles beyond your control. Cycles teach you patience. You learn that seeds awake in spring and lie dormant in winter without complaint. Rivers carve canyons at a pace imperceptible to human hands. Rocks metamorphose under heat and pressure, turning stone into marble, limestone into chalk. The silent work of geology has no deadline, no audience. It simply continues, sculpting landscapes that cradle life for moments. In your own seasons, you cycle through youth and age, action and rest, curiosity and surrender. You greet each phase with compassion, knowing that endings make way for beginnings. You treasure mornings not because they promise eternity, but because they promise presence. Each breath, each heartbeat is an invitation to exist fully in this miraculous moment. What miracle grows from meaninglessness? The miracle of response. You stand before emptiness and answer with wonder. You meet indifference with kindness. You trace patterns on a blank sky and find that your imagination turns starlight into stories. You give purpose to passion, and in doing so, you weave a tapestry that glimmers even as the loom stands unmoved in the hush before sleep. You breathe in synthetic calm and breathe out constellations of thought. You invite humility to rest beside you, knowing how small you are amidst atoms and galaxies. Yet you also invite reverence for the fragility of a single life, for the power of your own intention to alter goodness in the world. You lie soft as a seed in dark soil, gathering nutrients from silence. You dream of leaves reaching for sunlit promise. When you awaken, you will press roots into daily soil again, drawing meaning from simple acts. A cup of tea, the curve of a friend's smile, the turning pages of a book, In these small rituals, you grow. You are not the centerpiece of a cosmic ballet. You are a dancer who chose to join in. The stage has no spotlights trained for you, no script etched in stone, yet you dance. You twirl in moments of gratitude. You sway in rhythms of love. You bow in quiet gratitude for the chance to move at all and that choice. This refusal to stand still in the face of emptiness is your miracle. It emerges from a void that holds no expectations. It blooms in the spaces between stars. It pulses in the synapses of your brain, in the beating of your heart. To live without being the point is to find joy in the act of living itself. It is to marvel that possibility arises at all, that kindness can bloom in dark corners, that creativity can carve meaning from silence. You are proof that wonder does not require an audience. It only requires presence, so you rest here now beneath a sky that neither watches nor waits. You rest in the knowledge that your breath is a poem, your heartbeat a drumbeat in the quiet. You rest in the faith that your choices ripple outward in ways you cannot foresee, shaping kindness in worlds unseen. You wake again in dawn's soft glow, remembering that mortality is not absence but transformation. You scatter seeds of hope in conversations, in letters left unopened, in art brushed with fleeting color. You carry forward fragments of joy and sorrow alike, knowing they feed the fertile ground of human connection. The universe spins without purpose, yet each turn invites new possibilities. In your small sphere of influence, you nurture compassion, dream possibilities, and sow seeds of wonder that may bloom beyond your own lifetime, bright. There is a trace of your presence that lingers in the soft architecture of existence, a gentle shape formed by each breath you drew and each thought you wove into the tapestry of being. Though the universe neither asked for nor acknowledged your arrival, it opened itself nonetheless. In the absence of ceremony, you held curiosity like a candle in the dark, letting its flame tremble and glow against the vast canvas of stars. Each question you whispered into the void was a pebble cast into cosmic waters, sending ripples across the endless sea of possibility. You did not demand an audience. You contented yourself with the hush that followed. In that hush, ideas took shape, memories gathered into quiet constellations, and the simple act of wondering became a form of music. Even though entropy wins its patient hand toward stillness, your spark of curiosity reserved a small pocket of warmth within the cold expanse, an ember that flickered with meaning even as the night pressed in around it. Your atoms will scatter into wind and water, stirred by breezes you will never feel and currents you will never chart. They will join distant oceans, cradle seeds in soil, and become part of the breath of creatures unborn. Iron in your blood might become the backbone of a new sapling or the silent framework beneath a mushroom's cap. Carbon that formed your thoughts may swim in coral reefs or swirl in the wings of insects that dance in twilight. Your water might condense in desert clouds, then fall as life-giving rain. Nitrogen that fed your cells could nourish grasslands where herds roam under wide skies. Every particle of your being is recycling now, intertwining with the cycles of life on Earth and the dance of elements in the cosmos. Even as your personal chapter closes, your matter continues its silent voyage, traveling through time's currents, forging connections beyond the limits of your own awareness. Yet while you lived, you filled each moment with wonder, gathering starlight in the palms of your mind and feeling the pulse of distant suns in your heartbeat. You learned the language of patterns, tracing orbits in the sky and rhythms in your own breath. You saw the curve of planet horizons at dawn and the formation of galaxies in the hiss of telescope data. Each new understanding was a gift you offered yourself, a soft reflection in which the universe recognized its own brightness. In laboratories and libraries you sought clarity in equations and stories, letting logic and imagination intertwine like vines weaving through the trellis of your mind. You studied the way light bends through glass, how cells divide in quiet confidence, how ecosystems balance like dancers in a silent ballet. Through every discovery, you celebrated the simple truth that existence itself is an invitation to explore and to marvel. In moments of quiet reflection, you listened to the echo of your thoughts bouncing off the walls of your mind, each idea returning softened by introspection. You recognized that silence is not emptiness, but fertile ground where understanding takes root. The calm between questions was where revelation bloomed, where you found the space to connect fragments into new patterns. It was here, in the hushed liminal zone of contemplation, that you felt the soft brush of eternity against your consciousness. Not a flash of lightning, but the steady glow of dawn creeping over horizons, a promise whispered by the cosmos itself. You held this promise close, a lighthouse guiding your awareness through the shadows of doubt. In the gentle pause between inhale and exhale, you discovered that being alive is an act of continual emergence, a subtle unfurling with every heartbeat. You looked into the void and spoke with your mind, sending questions that traversed light years of space to distant stars and back. You wondered if quantum uncertainty carried echoes of free will, if black holes held secrets of creation, if dark energy was the breath of the cosmos expanding its reach. Though you received no voice in reply, you returned with new insights gleaned from patient observation. Telescopes and probes whispered data in frequencies beyond hearing, and you translated those whispers into story. In particle accelerators, you watched paths of subatomic dancers, tracing arcs in magnetic fields like intricate calligraphy. And in each measurement, you found connections between the smallest and the vastest, learning that scales differ only by degree, not by wonder. Your mind became a bridge between realms, carrying knowledge from atoms to galaxies with reverence and awe. You were not invited to this cosmic drama, yet you arrived with open eyes and open heart. No decree bade you question the nature of light or to unravel the loops of spacetime. You offered yourself as a witness, a learner, a humble companion to the unfolding. In poetry and in code, in experiments and in empathy, you mirrored the cosmos' silent rhythms. In gardens and in data, you found patterns that echoed the harmony of natural law. Each act of creation, painting, writing, building, became a reflection of cosmic creativity, a small chord in an infinite symphony. Although your role was never written into the stars, you authored verses in your own language of wonder, and that language resonated with the deepest notes of existence. The universe does not pause to commemorate your existence. Black holes continue their silent feast, stars collapse in the depths of space, and galaxies wander dark seas. The march of cosmic evolution proceeds with or without your gratitude. But gratitude itself is a gift you gave, a way of aligning your pulse with the pulse of the cosmos. You thanked the morning sun, you thanked the evening rain, you thanked the hands that prepared your meal, you thanked the laughter that warmed your nights. Each expression of thanks was a seed of connection, a thread weaving you into the grand tapestry. Gratitude becomes a bridge that spans distances both vast and intimate, uniting the fleeting and the eternal in a single moment of recognition. Ripples of your kindness extend beyond your lifetime, A comforting word you spoke in passing may brighten a stranger's day. A lesson you taught may guide a curious mind long after your voice has hushed. Ideas you share become stepping stones for others to climb higher, to see further. In classrooms and conversations, in books and broadcasts, your whispers of insight echo across time. You shape futures with every act of generosity, every spark of inspiration. The atoms may scatter, but the essence of your influence persists. It lives in the smile of someone you helped, in the achievements of those you encouraged, in the collective advance of minds reaching toward new horizons. Your legacy is a network of light, threading through darkness with gentle persistence. Memory is the vessel that carries your presence beyond the confines of your body. It is a soft archive written in the hearts of those you loved and in the annals of ideas you nurtured. Memory spans the gap between now and then, binding past and future in a fragile continuum. You become present in retelling. A child recalls your laughter. A student recalls your guidance. A reader recalls your words. These threads of remembrance form a tapestry of echoes, a mural of moments that outlast the immediate. Though the body decays, memory endures in patterns of thought and feeling. As long as any thread remains, the tapestry holds your shape, and your light remains visible to those who pause to look. Thought itself is a flicker of light against the dark backdrop of existence. Each idea sparks like a tiny lantern, casting warmth into cold corners. Because you thought, because you wondered, because you dared to ask why, new questions arose in others' minds. Evolution sculpted your brain to ponder the cosmos, and in its turns of complexity, it reached a moment of self-reflection. The universe gazed back through you. That is your miracle, not the grandeur of galaxies you surveyed, but the silent act of reflection, the intimate dialogue between thought and cosmos. In that dialogue, you discovered that meaning is a living exchange, not a static end. As the ages pass and countenance shift, the traces of your footprints soften beneath wind and water. Then the footprints yield to grass, to roots, to deeper soil. Eventually, not even dust remembers where stone once lay in your shape. The ephemeral nature of presence can be daunting, yet it also carries gentle freedom. You need not fear oblivion when you know your influence is not measured in marks on stone, but in the subtle changes you sparked. A single idea can shift paradigms. A single act of compassion can alter destinies. A single curious glance can transform perspective. Your power lies not in permanence, but in the quality of your moment-to-moment presence. And now, as your journey approaches its rest, you feel the hush of approaching night, not as an end, but as a gentle invitation to merge with the cosmic rhythm of silence. You breathe in the cool air of the present moment, tasting finality and possibility in the same breath. You let your heart slow to the cadence of stars turning, of atoms drifting, of the universe expanding in calm continuity. You release expectations of grand recognition and embrace the quiet truth that was always yours. You are here, not by cosmic design, not by necessity of forces beyond reason, but by the simple alchemy of wonder and presence. Your legacy is woven into the cosmic tapestry, where no single thread dominates, yet each thread contributes to the pattern. You become part of the design not by permanence, but by resonance. Each question you posed was like a note in an infinite symphony, each answer a chord that vibrated beyond its immediate echo. Though individual notes fade, the harmonies linger, searching for ears open enough to perceive them. You may not hear the final resonance of your first thought, but it shaped the consonants that followed. In that shaping, you became an agent of change, a gentle influence in the ever-shifting patterns of stars, of cells, of dreams. Time moves forward in silent procession, each moment giving way to the next without regret. Seasons cycle, cells divide, galaxies drift, and yet the essence of your presence thrives in the act of transformation. You celebrated beginnings and honored endings, understanding that one cannot exist without the other. Birth and death are partners in the cosmic dance, each step leading to new movement. You learned to find anticipation in endings and peace in beginnings, to relish the flow of change itself. In embracing this flow, you transcended the bounds of individuality and tapped into a universal rhythm that carries all things onward now. As you prepare to rest, you carry within you the knowledge that being here was its own miracle. No decree of the cosmos appointed you the role of keeper of meaning, yet through curiosity, compassion, and creative spark, you wove significance into the fabric of reality. You are a fleeting star in an ever-expanding sky, a breath of wonder in the hush of time. Your presence mattered not because it was required, but because it chose to be present. That choice ripples out in ways unseen, in acts of kindness past, along in ideas that ignite imaginations. In the end, that is your gift to the universe, the simple, profound act of yes, you were here. In this final hush, you rest as both marvel and witness. The universe does not issue certificates or honors, yet you carry an unspoken accolade, the spark of awareness that lights your mind. You did not conquer galaxies, but you charted the terrain of your own thoughts. You did not command stars, but you communed with their quiet glow. You did not tame the void, but you found solace within its silent depths. This is the measure of your presence, not in conquest, but in communion, not in dominion, but in connection, not in certainty, but in wonder. And so, as you drift into a dream's embrace, you carry the radiance of your own curiosity, a light that will ripple beyond the boundaries of your name and beyond the edge of your time. Even after your voice fades, the echoes of your wonder remain. In every whisper of wind, every glint of starlight, every quiet ripple on waterproof, that existence, once kindled, never truly extinguishes, always and forever warming the silence. And in the hush of memory's embrace, you listen for the next echo of wonder unfolding in the silence.